included in our bulletin, our club bulletin. There's a little thing at the bottom that says how many days to Zozobra. So they're not
No, no, and there's probably a lot more to do. Let's
yeah.
see. The 101st burning of Old Man Bloom, 5 weeks away. And,
Oh,
I mean, this is a year-round thing for you. We shouldn't say,
yeah.
"Oh, yeah, Ray's just like it's just like figuring out that the Zobra's coming up." No, you've been working on it for way too long.
Yeah, and especially this year, one of the things that we wanted to do was last year was obviously Zilver 400 and we had a record-breaking crowd. And, it's all about the Zilver, kind of relish in that because he has such a huge ego. But,
Yes.
the thing is that we wanted to really listen to our attendees and say, okay, where's the event going to the next century? What's happening? And we learned a lot. And there were some things that were doing well, and there were some things that kind of bothered attendees. And so we've made some major changes for this year's event. So the first change is that we voluntarily went down from 65,000 to 50,000 occupancy, and that's going to be a big hit in our ability to pay our bills. But we really thought it was important after listening to how crowded the venue felt, and we've had safety folks that simulation studies see how many people can actually fit in the venue, who's still within those safety requirements. But again, it's also about perception, right? So when you have a large crowd like that, if people feel that they're not safe or people feel too crowded, that can lead to a bunch of issues. And so the first thing we decided to do was to cut that occupancy, from 65,000 to 50. The other thing is that with our ladies, they said that us boys kind of make a mess with porta potties. And
Oh,
so
yes.
this year we'll have porta potties that are ladies only. And we hope that our event will respect that. So that way our ladies can have an experience there. The other thing, Terry, was food. People would rush to get to the venue. And, we have some amazing vendors. So people were telling us that they were waiting almost 90 minutes to get a meal. And then they were anxious that they weren't going to get a spot. And so we've kind of gone back to our vendors and said, hey, can you have some, ready-made meals? And so hey, if you want to stand in line and get those fajitas and you want them piping hot, you might have to wait a little bit longer. But if you just got off work and you're just like, I need something to eat, there's going to be some ready-made meals for folks to kind of help them out. So again, it was like little things about how our entrance worked and the tickets and how long you stood to get checked in. And again, we want to make sure that everybody's safe. We want to make sure everyone goes to the metal detector and those things. But there's a lot of ways that we were able to streamline it. So we learned a lot from the hundredth.
Hey, Ray, we're having a little bit of difficulty with your phone. Unfortunately, it is cutting out a bit, and I'm having producer Jerry right now give you a call back. I'm hoping that it will sound a little bit better. We're going to take a break while we do that, and yeah, because I want to hear more about the women-only porta potties. You got my attention. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. Zozobra coming up just 32 days away. And you're listening to The Weekend. 96.3 News Radio, KKOB. Oh, yes, indeed. I gotta tell you, I got a hunk of burning love for the news I just received about the 101st burning of Zozobra this year. Ladies, there will be more porta potties for us. I'm telling you what, Ray, this makes me smile, and I'm sure that it's
Good.
gonna make a lot of people smile, mostly women.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems like such an obvious thing to do. I've been to festivals, I've been to music festivals before where they've got a line for the men's and a line for the women's, and the women have more porta potties. So this
Yeah.
is not unprecedented, and it just makes a lot of sense. So thank you very
It
much.
sure does. We really need to treat our attendees better. And so, we learned a lot from the 100th, and we really want to make a huge difference as we kind of turn this new century.
Well, and there's some things that you're making a huge difference with. We saw the KOAT story this week about what Zozobra is going to be able to do this year. And I know last year, as I recall, when I came up to Zozo Fest, I was talking with a couple of the volunteers, and they were working on Mr. Old Man Gloom's hand. And we weren't quite ready to say what was happening with the hand. This year, we're just like ripping off the band aid, and we're going to tell everybody what's happening with the hands.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things is we were looking for something fun to animate, and Zozobra's fingers have never moved, right?
Mhm.
When I started as a kid, we kind of made kind of this box, if you will, that we kind of stuck on the end of the arm, and then we painted it to make it look like it had fingers. And then Scott Wiseman came along about just a decade ago, and this young man was an artist, and man, he revolutionized the hands. He made 3D fingers that looked amazing. Like the sculpture of the hand was just so lifelike. It was amazing. And so we thought, hey, it's time to kind of take this to the next level. So we tried last year. We were hoping to do it for the 100th, but Old Man Gloom had his own little plans in mind, and so he, the hands they fidgeted, but they didn't move last year. And so we thought, what, we've got to go back to the drawing board and start from scratch. And so Luke Finch, who's just an amazing guy, he's a film guy, but he also does drones, and he's been building drones, and he's been getting better at doing these kind of things. And so he said, you know what, I have a new concept for the hands. And so we were able to make, and he wanted to do both. And I was like, let's do one at a time. So the Zobra will sport a mechanical hand this year in which all 5 fingers will move. And Terry, the coolest thing, and if you come up to Zozo Fest again, we might be able to let you try it, but you put on a glove, and as you make those gestures, the hands actually mimic what your hand is doing from the glove. It is the coolest thing.
I can hardly wait to try that. And of course I will come to Zozo Fest this year because
Awesome.
it's one of the things that I just so enjoy doing. And I want to talk about Zozo Fest too, but I want to talk about the hands right now. So
Yeah.
the technology that they're using, is this reusable technology? Do we burn up the technology every year? How does that part of it work?
So the structure is a steel structure, and so we're going to see whether or not it survives. That part of the, it's so funny. We do kind of an autopsy, if you will, once the Zobra falls to the ground, just to
Uh-huh.
see what worked, if anything failed, and those kind of things. And so we do believe that because of where the hand is on the outset of the arm, and it's away from the face and the rest of the body, that it will get cooler temperatures, if you will. And so we do believe that the frame will survive. The mechanics, on the other hand, probably not so much. A lot of them are plastic and dealt with that. We're going to try to put them in some protective coatings. Obviously, we don't want to be burning plastics, but it is going to be a total total experiment this year to see how much of the hand will actually survive. But we're hoping that the actual base of the hand will actually survive.
And I mean, what a dream come true for everybody who's been working on the hands for a while. I know that there are volunteers that work on different aspects of Old Man Gloom every year. And I know the hand folks have been doing it for a while, and they must just be over the moon this year.
Yeah, they are. They are. They're just like, to see this actually come to fruition, and to see the movement where it's not a twitch, it's a full movement. The hand opens up completely, all 5 fingers, and then he can make a fist. He can do some other things. We just got to make sure we have the right operator, make sure that those gestures stay appropriate. Because old man Gloom, he likes to play little tricks on us.
Well, I was going to ask you about that because I mean, I really have to manipulate my fingers in order to do that very specific gesture you were mentioning. So I'm hoping that, yeah, whoever's, you're going to have someone in charge of the hands that's a grown up, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So we want to make sure that this comes off, in a respectful way. But it's going to be something that's really cool. This is an evolution of Zozobra. He's 101. So what better way to kind of celebrate the turning of a new page than to give Zozobra, this new animation on his fingers? And so we're hoping it's going to work. We're hoping that it's going to really, the crowd's going to go wild when they actually see this. And it goes along with our steampunk theme for this year.
Thank you. We haven't really talked about the theme yet. So
yeah.
So go ahead, talk about the theme. This sounds like a theme that you could really do a lot with. You could go a lot of different directions.
Yeah, I'll first off start off talking that we started themes when we did the Decades Project back. We started in 2014 with the 1920s and 30s, 40s, and so on. And we did have some locals and some folks say, you really ruined this. You've taken away from the tradition. We missed the over just being, in the black bow tie, and I really listened to those critiques because I think it's really important. But the overwhelming response was that people actually love this. They want to be able to see what Zozobra's, dressed in. When I was a kid, the only question for me was, is Zozobra's hair yellow, orange, and occasionally a lime green? Like, that would be like, oh my God, they did something really, really different. And one of the things that you have to do as an event producer when you're trying to get kids involved, especially in the day and age where you have, amazing special effects, you have augmented reality, they have 4K video games. It's very hard to compete with that. And so one of the things that we do is these themes allow us to be able to really give Zozobra a different look and a different feel. And here's where the proof has been in the pudding. What happened was that we had, at the beginning of the Decades Project, we maybe had 50 to 60 entries in the art contest. And of course, Zozobra was there in the black bow tie and the orange hair. Last year, this year, we had 650 entries from elementary school kids. And Zozobra had earpods. He was playing a Nintendo Switch. He was wearing skinny jeans. And that's it, is that they saw that they could take Zozobra and put him into what they wear. And that's really where our tradition is going to survive, is by getting young folks involved.
Yeah. And I mean, and there's plenty of ways, at least from my understanding, still to get involved this year, right?
Absolutely. So we just had our national anthem tryouts yesterday. So if you missed that, please put that on your calendar for next year. We usually do those auditions in July, but we're still looking for kids to be gloomies, and we're still looking for art for ZozoFest. So if you have an opportunity, go to burnzozobra.com. You're going to see a sign up here, little icon right on the homepage. If you click on that, it has a description of everything that we're looking for, and it will link you off to the correct pages so that way you can apply and sign up.
I wanted to just put in a plug for the artwork, because every year when I go, I to ZozoFest, I usually get myself something. One year I got this amazing painted Zozobra on a little piece of tin. I use it actually as a Christmas ornament. I know most people probably don't put Zozobra on their Christmas tree, but I do. But one of the things that I love about it is much of the artwork is generated, maybe even all of it, is generated by kids.
Yeah, it's amazing, what Zozobra has done for kids. Like, it is just, and it's just, I hear about, here's a Zozobra super fan, and look at their bedroom, and it's plastered with their drawings of Zozobra.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, okay, that kid was crazy like me, right? That's like 1 in a million. And then, hey, my niece does this, and hey, my nephew, and hey, and, I'll be in a restaurant, and a parent will come over to me and say, can you come say hi to my kid? They see you on YouTube all the time. They have Zozobra everywhere in their room. And so maybe it isn't such a weird thing. Maybe that, Zozobra speaks to kids on a different level than we can perceive. But man, he's really popular with the kids. And there artwork is just so magnificent, and it's so difficult to choose from all these drawings, crayon drawings of Zozobra, which to pick for our kids, poster and our kids T-shirt.
Yeah, I imagine that that is a tough job, and I love that idea, and I think you're right that there is something about Zozobra, and maybe it's even gonna be more so with the hands moving, that speaks to kids. There's something about it that
Yeah,
might be intimidating and scary, and yet watching it burn, there's that relief, and then maybe a little bit of control over something. I mean, that's what it does for the
yeah.
grown-ups, right?
Yeah, and the other thing is that there's a link between Zozobra and some of our autistic fans. That we have a fan, Ashley Moore, who was actually featured in our documentary, who is severely autistic, and they were looking for noises and sounds in which to kind of soothe her. And she found Zozobra. Her parents found Zozobra on YouTube, and the moaning Zozobra's voice, and she's it's been amazing the part of therapy that Zozobra has been for her, and the advances that she's made just because of Zozobra. And so she comes every year. We're so excited to see her, but that's amazing to think about the fact that there can be some healing property. And it just hasn't been just Ashley who's autistic. It's been other autistic kids. We had a family who drove up from Las Cruces with their autistic son to do stuffing, and we heard the same thing from the father that when they get into a situation where they get really anxious, they stop them and they have them draw Zozobra, and they're able to bring them and calm them down. It's quite amazing.
Well, and there's some sort of power maybe that they're able to call on when they're doing that, that
Yeah,
it does help and unlock something in their mind so that they can relax just a bit, and it does give them that sense of control.
absolutely,
That's
absolutely.
fascinating. I wanna talk to you about Zozo Fest this year. It is one of my favorite events, one of my favorite things to do. So if you've still got a few more minutes, Ray, we'd love to do that. Are
Mm,
you cool with that?
absolutely love it.
Right on. So we're going to roll on with Zozobra this year, steampunk, and talk more about Zozo Fest, which is coming up pretty darn quick. All of that and more
Yes.
as the weekend continues on 96.3 News Radio, KKOB. Oh, they're going to be doing the hand jive this year for Zozobra. Zozobra's going to have, I don't know about opposable thumbs. I've been joking around about that, but his hands are going to move. They're going to make fists. They're going to be intimidating. And it's also the year of the porta potty at Zozobra this year. They're adding more for us ladies. Thank you so much, Ray Sandoval. Selling fewer tickets too. So there is going to be a little more room for all of us. And you're working with the food vendors to make sure that experience is better. We've got Ray Sandoval on the line, the Zozobra event chair, working with the Kiwanis every year to put on this event in Santa Fe at Fort Marcy Park this year, August 29th, just 32 days away. And Zozo Fest, though, happens before the big burn. When is Zozo Fest this year?
So yeah, Terry, we love it. Zozo Fest is actually the week before Zozobra, so it is going to be the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 24th. It's at Santa Fe Place Mall on the south side of Santa Fe, and it is a free event. And the idea came for it about, I think we've been doing it now for about 17 years, which is that what we were just talking about. We had so much amazing Zozobra art that we thought we really needed to showcase it and display it. And at first, we would have a Zozobra art show. And when I became the chairman in 2013, I went to my then construction chairman, Matt Horowitz, and said, the biggest piece of art is missing from Zozo Fest. And he looked at me and said, what's that? And I said, Zozobra. Zozobra's missing from his art show. He's a piece of art. He's the biggest piece of folk art that Santa Fe has. So I'm instructing you to find a place to build Zozobra, but also to house the art. And so that's kind of how Zozo Fest was born. And we've loved it because people now can come and take pictures with Zozobra's head. The kids can see it, where if he's not 50 feet tall, they can put, people can put their glooms inside of Zozobra themselves. They can walk around and look at the beautiful art. And so it has really turned out to be just an amazing event. And we really appreciate that because it does give, families that have the younger kids a little bit better of an opportunity and perspective of looking at the old guy.
Yeah, it does. And it's an event that since I've moved here, I've been up every year. And I get my yearly selfie with Old Man Gloom. I keep it to myself because you ask people not to, put it up on social media. I follow the rules because if you don't, Old Man Gloom could come after you, is the way I'm looking at it if you're not following the rules. And I find it to be, some of the little kids, I've watched them, and it's like they want to get close to the head, and yet they're a little bit afraid. And so I think sometimes, having mom and dad there and then stuffing some things in the other part of Old Man Gloom, it sort of dissipates some of that intimidation from that big head because it's huge. How big is that head?
Yeah, the head just by itself is 11 feet tall. So it is, he's a monster in every way.
Oh yeah.
And it's fun to be able to kind of see it there. And you're absolutely, I've watched the kids where they run in because they're running towards it. And then all of a sudden they get scared. So they stop mid track and then they kind of just very, very, try to sneak up to the Zozobra. It's so much fun to watch the kids and how they interact.
It really is. It is truly one of my favorite parts of all of the goings on. And the cool thing about Zozo Fest too is maybe you've got smaller kids, maybe going to Zozobra, when they're 4 or 5, it might be a bit much, but bringing them to Zozo Fest, it's sort of like it gets them introduced to the idea and a way to sort of get up close and personal with Old Man Gloom. And yet you're still safe. You're with mom and dad and you're okay. And there's not the huge crowd.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there is something to say about being able to put your own gloom inside of the Zozobra, right? So, for years we had gloom boxes and we would collect them from around, town and we would do different things. But I do think that it is, I will say this. When we first started Zozo Fest, I didn't realize the power of putting gloom, of writing it down and actually stuffing it in Zozobra. And it was funny to watch people take a piece of paper and kind of write down what they bother them. but they made sure that there's nobody around. They folded it up. They went and they put it into the Zobra's ghost tail, the chicken wire frame. And then some people would actually, pick up the frame and kind of shake it to make sure that their glue wasn't going to fall out. And it was something almost like, it was like something that people took so seriously, like voting. And it really shifted my mindset and how important it is that you are able to physically write down and then put your glue inside Zozobra yourself.
I think there is something about that. I know I enjoy doing it every year. And you want to make sure you shove it up there as far as you can, not to be get
Yep.
violent or anything, but just to make sure that it's up there. Indeed. And I mean, some of the things that have been shoved up is, what did you call it? His ghost tail? I just call it his skirt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the things shoved up there have been very interesting in years past, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Someone brought us this brand new guitar, and I'm not a music aficionado, but one of my entertainment folks told us that it was worth a pretty penny. Brand new, don't understand the story, but
Yeah.
we accepted it. We've had a wedding dress. We've had love letters, mortgages, divorce papers, photos of people, jackets of an ex, just different things that people symbolically wanted to get rid of. And one of my stories is that the most moving thing I ever saw was a woman who brought what I thought had a blue blanket. And she walked up and asked if I would put this in Zozobra, and she explained that it was her hospital gown. She was in stage 4 cancer, and her doctor had pointed to the gown, saying that that was probably the last article of clothing she was ever going to wear. And it actually had the reverse effect on her. She decided she wanted to live, and she went into remission. And I looked at her and I said, no, 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 I can't put this in. And she kind of looked at me shocked, and I said, you need to do this. And so we walked over to Zozobra. She put it in. She was crying. I was crying. And I remember that evening igniting Zozobra and watching that hospital gown burn. And it was really special. It was very, very emotional.
I mean, and you bring up such a good point, Ray. We don't necessarily need to understand the significance of the item and why
Yep.
anyone is putting it in Zozobra. But collectively, we're all together there with our stories, and we
Yep.
can we feel that as a community.
Yeah, and I think that's really what the genius of the event is right? You're there with 50,000 people, and so it is a community thing. You're chanting, burn him, burn him. And so you feel part of this huge family, this huge community. But at the same time, you're having this deeply personal experience because you yourself know what you're trying to get rid of, what gloom you're trying to let go of. And I just think that's the genius of the event, is that it really speaks to the two sides of us as human beings, that inner, really personal side, and then that other side that longs to be part of the community and to be with a group.
Yeah, and that longing for community. You put that so eloquently. I think that's, as you said, that's what brings out so many people to Zozobra every year. Plus, it's really fun to just set. How tall is he? I mean, if his head is 11 feet tall, how tall is he? From ghost tail to the tip of his pointy head.
He is 50 feet 6 inches. That is the very, very top of the pole that we can put in. Thanks to P&M, who's been raising Zozobra since 1933. These guys used to actually walk up the pole with these spikes in their boots and climb up the wooden pole, put a pulley there, and then hoist them up. Nowadays we use the mechanics, but we couldn't do it without P&M. And they always help us. We're like, no, it's got to go up another 2 inches, another 3 inches. We really tried to get him as tall as possible.
Yeah, and you cut out just a little bit there, but I love that story of the back in the 20s, the P&M workers with the spiked boots going up the pole, because that's the way things used to go. I mean,
Yep.
technology has advanced quite a bit, but yeah, you want to get it entirely as tall as you can, because it makes such an imposing figure, and then when you burn it, whoop, it's all gone.
Yeah, it's all gone. So, and there's even a science to how we burn him, right? How we get it to burn from the head down, so that way it takes a lot longer. I mean, Zozobra's 50 feet tall, but if you put it at the bottom of the ghost tail, man, he's gone within 2 minutes. It's like, and so we really want to be dramatic in that way. And so Schuster even left instructions on how to make Zozobra burn the most efficient way, which is from the head down.
Wow. I hadn't even thought. I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, there's the scientific method right there too. I'm telling you what, you cover all the bases in burning Zozobra. It's not only psychologically comforting, it's scientifically comforting as well.
Totally. I mean, this guy, Schuster, he was the inventor of Zozobra. This guy was just so ahead of his time. He talked about putting these fireworks in the mouth, and so Zozobra would breathe fire, and then the hair is constructed so it's loose, and so as it starts on fire, it then gravity falls and drops it onto the ghost tail, and it ignites the ghost tail, and that's really the way that you get Zozobra to last the longest. And so we always aim for that. Sometimes the wind, and Zozobra has his own mind how he wants to go. But that's a textbook burn if you can get it from the mouth to the hair, and then the hair starts falling onto the ghost tail.
And we want our glooms to burn, but not too fast, because you want to savor the moment a bit too.
Exactly, right? We want to be able to, and that's so funny. People are always asking me, do you ever feel any kind of sense of regret when you ignite Zozobra? And I always tell them it really depends on the year. If he's been a great Zozobra and everything's gone well, I really feel bad about, hitting that last fuse. But if it's been one of those years where it's just been problem after problem, sometimes I'm just like, dude, later, and hit that fuse pretty quickly.
I think a lot of us feel that way about our glooms too, Ray. Absolutely. So one of the things, because there aren't going to be as many tickets sold this year, it is very important to get your tickets ahead of time. So let's tell folks about that, Ray.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're about halfway sold out. We're just under 25,000 tickets sold. 50,000 is going to be the max for this year. So you can go to burnszozobra.com. You'll see the little ticket icon there. And this year we added a bunch of different features this year. So one of the things is we've had our premium seating, which is if you can afford it, you get a little bit closer, you get a seat. But one of the things we wanted to do was make sure that folks could actually have a seat even if they couldn't afford those premiums. So we've added 2 bleacher sections, backdraft bleachers, and it's going to be awesome. So you can come in, get a little cushion, you'll be able to sit. Because, we understand that there's a lot of folks who want to be able to take their parents or folks that have problems with mobility. They really can't afford those premium. So the bleachers are just $10 above what the general admission ticket is. Your general admission ticket is $30 with a $5 discount for being a New Mexican, so $25. Unfortunately, online, there's a $7.50 fee that doesn't go to us, it goes to the bank. But do get your tickets. They are going fast. We do expect that the Zozobra will sell out before the event date, just based on what we're seeing right now. So please, burnszozobra.com, click on tickets, look at the options. We also have added more ADA options. We want to make sure that our folks who are, really mobility challenged, that they're able to be able to come to Zozobra. So we'll have sign language interpreters there. One of the things that was great was we started that last year. They were able to kind of sign the announcements, but they weren't able to sign kind of the music. And so this year we have Easy Band coming in, and these guys are just amazing. They do a little bit of a mix between ranchetta and like 1980s pop hits or 1990s country hits. If you haven't checked them out, it's Easy, the letter E-Z Band. They're going to be amazing. But they've sent us over our set list so that where interpreters can learn their songs, and so they can interpret and sign their songs as well. So that way everybody feels welcome at Zozobra.
I love it. burnszozobra.com. That is your one-stop shopping, the place to go for all of that. Are there spots around town where folks can get their tickets and not have to pay the online fee? Are there actual in-person places?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So we have FS2 Supply Company in the rail yard. You can go there, and actually, since there are no fees, it's a $30 ticket. You get your $5 New Mexican discount, so you can pay $25. General admission, 10 and under are free. So kids 10 and under. However, we're going to be having wristbands that light up. So even if you have that child, you might want to go to our website and buy the wristband for $5. These wristbands are going to be amazing. As soon as the Fire Spirit comes out, we're going to turn everyone's wristband in the entire venue red. We're going to be able to do these different cool things when the Gloomies come out. It's going to be this, green and blue kind of cool thing. And then you get to take it home kind of as a keepsake. And there's a little button on the back, and the kids can play with it. And there's 40 different settings that the kids can drive their parents absolutely bonkers with. But the colors, the combinations, the cool things, your wristbands will not work until we make them work that night. But once you take them home, you can keep them and play with them and put new batteries in them when it goes dead. And this is going to just be a lot more fun to add more audience participation to our event.
We love audience participation. It's our favorite part of the event. Ray, anything else important to pass along?
Steampunk, a lot of people might not know what that is. It's kind of a Jules Verne turn of the century where people put gadgets and clocks and gears. So this is an awesome genre. If you don't know it, look it up online. The costumes are just amazing. I'm really excited to see what our national anthem singer is going to wear. I'm excited to see what our country is going to wear. I even decided to grab a little, steampunk jacket and a hat. I'm really looking forward to this. I think we can have a lot of fun, and we need to start having more fun in our society. We know about all the bad things that are going on. Let's come out. Let's celebrate as a community. Let's dress up. Let's just do some things that add some fun back into our lives.
Here, here. And the way to do that, you can go online, burnszozobra.com. If you go online, I bet they even let you know where you can get your tickets in person without paying the fee. And
Yeah,
you need to get your
absolutely.
tickets. That's absolutely what you need to do. Ray Sandoval, the Zobra event chair, thank you so much for all that you do. And I'll see you at Zozo Fest, if not before.
Fantastic, Terry. Thank you. And it's really all my volunteers. I just get to be the face of this amazing thing. But I love shout out to all my volunteers at the Kiwanis Club of Santa Fe. Thanks, Terry.
You betcha. And indeed, if you go up to Zozobra Fest, Zozo Fest, you can meet some of the volunteers. They're such a nice bunch of people. And what's cool about the volunteers is there are volunteers that have been working on different parts of this event and different parts of Old Man Gloom for like, well, I know there's one of the guys, I was going to call him a kid, but he's not a kid anymore. He started as a kid volunteering. His mom was a volunteer, and so in fact, I believe he told me that she was pregnant with him and she was volunteering. So Zozo Fest is deep into his blood. Anyway, he's a volunteer on the hands and he's been doing hands for years. And so I imagine he is over the moon about this whole, animated hand thing. It's going to be a lot of fun. Burnszozobra.com is the place to go and find out how you can get your glooms taken care of. Coming up, one of my glooms has been taken care of already, even before Zozobra burns. We'll talk about it next as the weekend continues. 96.3 News Radio, KKOB.